Hello and welcome to this edition of Inside the Americas. I'm Laura Sellier. The top stories this week. Another federal shutdown looms in Washington, and this time it could have a very real impact on national security. Plus, could one man really be responsible for destroying 20% of the rainforest? That's what police in Brazil are saying as they arrest a man for illegal land grabs. And a Mexican filmmaker takes the top prize at the Oscars. We look back at the career of Birdman director Alejandro Gonzales Inarritu. But we begin this week with the latest standoff in Washington, and this one could have serious consequences for national security. If Republicans and Democrats don't agree on a spending bill by Friday, the Department of Homeland Security could find itself without any funding. It all comes down to Republican opposition to President Obama's plan to grant amnesty to millions of illegal immigrants. Lucy Provan has the story.
Shut us down at your peril. That was the message from the U.S. security chief.
Every day I press our staff at my headquarters to stay one step ahead of groups such as ISIL, to stay one step ahead of threats to our aviation security. If we shut down, that staff is cut back to a skeleton.
Congress is refusing to ratify the Homeland Security budget. Republicans want to pressure Barack Obama to drop immigration reforms that are also part of the bill. If there's no agreement by Friday, the consequences could be dramatic.
Unless Congress acts, 1 week from now, more than 100,000 DHS employees, Border Patrol, port inspectors, TSA agents will show up to work without getting paid.
Republicans are determined to block measures that would grant temporary relief to 5 million illegal immigrants.
This is a disagreement not about funding Homeland Security. It's about our nation's immigration policy and the president's executive amnesty, an action which I believe is illegal.
Obama passed the reforms by decree in November. They would guarantee a 3-year work permit to illegal immigrants who had been in the U.S. for over 5 years if they had a child who was born in the country or who had citizenship.
What we want, those of us who have children that were born here, and those of us who don't, we all want at least a permit that would allow us to feel free and to work. We deserve to be able to have good jobs with the papers that Obama has authorized for us.
The president continues to fight for the reforms. On Wednesday, he went to Miami to make the case at the International University of Florida, a state which has one of the highest illegal immigrant populations.
Meanwhile, the man who killed real-life American sniper Chris Kyle has been sentenced to life in prison without parole. A judge ruled that Eddie Ray Routh was mentally capable when he shot dead Kyle and his friend Chad Littlefield at a Texas gun range 2 years ago. At the time, Kyle had retired from the Army and was working with Routh as part of a program to help traumatized veterans. Clint Eastwood's film about Kyle's life and his controversial military career is currently showing in cinemas. Staying in the United States, the nation's largest private employer has agreed to hike its workers' salaries. Walmart employees will soon take home $9 an hour. That's above the minimum wage. It's a victory for the campaigners who've long accused the supermarket giant of exploiting its workforce.
Walmart, a giant among U.S. retailers. 5,000 supermarkets, 1.5 million employees, the largest employer in the U.S. Paul works in the electronics department. He has to hold down 2 jobs to make ends meet. His salary hasn't gone up in 8 years. Now he will finally get paid more.
It's a step forward, but there's still a lot more to be done. But it's the right way forward.
Salaries will go up from around 6 to 8 euros an hour. 500,000 employees will be affected. The chain was pressured by an increasingly angry public condemnation of their policy.
As far as being an employee, you'll never be happy. They still want to be cheap Walmart. You know, the executives going to sit back and their pockets going to get full. And
say, what do we want?
Walmart workers have been protesting the salaries for years. There's been pressure from unions, and even Barack Obama raised the issue in his State of the Union address.
If you truly believe you could work full-time and support a family on less than $15,000 a year, try it.
He even went to a large clothes retailer to congratulate them on increasing their salaries. Other brands followed, and finally Walmart gave in, with its head even offering this mea culpa.
Sometimes we make policy changes or other decisions and they don't result in what we thought they were going to. And when we don't get it right, we adjust.
The fight does not stop here, however. Fast food restaurants have seen large protests over wages and could also be pushed to follow suit.
Now, 20% of the rainforest's destruction down to one individual. The so-called king of deforestation was arrested this week in Brazil. Ezequiel Antonio Questana is accused of illegally grabbing federal lands, clearing them of trees and selling them on to cattle farmers. If convicted of the crime, he could be jailed for up to 46 years. Nicholas Rushworth has this report.
It took a joint operation 6 months. Brazilian authorities are hailing a victory after the arrest of gang leader Ezequiel Antonio Castanha. He's believed to have destroyed thousands of square kilometers of Amazon rainforest, including 15,000 hectares last year.
He's one of the leaders, perhaps the main leader of this gang, which is the largest yet discovered, that specializes in deforesting the Amazon.
Castanha's arrest sends a reassuring message to NGOs, though other violent gangs are still active. Around 5,000 square kilometers of Amazon forest disappear each year, and there's a pattern in just how that happens. First, precious woods in endangered forest areas are removed and the land sold to farmers who grow soybeans, corn or sugarcane. Once the soil is depleted, the land is used for cattle farming. The system has been in place for years due to a powerful farmers' lobby, the Ruralistas. The Forest Code was revised in their favor a few years ago under Dilma Rousseff. Corruption has done the rest.
Legal constraints are in place, but federal authorities have few resources to apply the law. Corruption is a problem when cases come to trial. As is the power of the accused, the trials are rarely successful.
The stakes, though, are high in terms of the environment. The Amazon region is currently 20% smaller than it was 40 years ago. Deforestation alone accounts for 12 to 17% of the world's annual greenhouse gas emissions. 5% of the world's biodiversity is found in tropical forests. And for native tribes, there is less hunting ground year on year. These Indians had never had contact with modern civilization. Till last summer, they came out of the forest driven by hunger. Halting deforestation, for them, is a matter of life and death.
It was a director from Mexico who won the top prize at the Oscars this week. Alejandro Gonzales Inarritu won Best Picture and Best Director for his movie Birdman. Well, he follows in the footsteps of the Gravity director Alfonso Cuarón and is the latest Mexican filmmaker to earn recognition in Hollywood. Laurence Cuvillier and Mathieu Coma have more.
He was the man of the night at the Oscars, but he hasn't forgotten where he's from.
I want to dedicate this award for my fellow Mexicans and the ones that live in this country who are part of the latest generation of immigrants in this country. I just pray that they can be treated with the same dignity and respect of the ones who came before and built this incredible immigrant nation. Thank you very much.
Exile and migration. Alejandro Gonzales Inarritu has tackled these themes in plenty of his films. A former ad director and radio anchor, this self-taught star spent the first 40 years of his life in Mexico. This is where he threw himself into cinema for the first time.
At the start, it was Raul Olvera who directed our ads, and Alejandro spent all his time watching him, just observing. And a little while later, he started to teach himself. He watched films like crazy.
Alexis saw Inarritu thrive as a director. In the early 90s, they worked together producing ads for a major Mexican TV network. Then Alejandro stepped into a different world with his first film, Love's a Bitch.
One time he invited us to his house to watch the first cut. There were like 50 of us. The poor guy got attacked by everybody. I think people were really unfair to him.
But Love's a Bitch won a prize at Cannes and was nominated for an Oscar. He was well on his way. He joined the ranks of Hollywood's leading Mexicans, Guillermo del Toro and Alfonso Cuarón. Mexican talent seems to be blossoming away from home.
With these films, they've shown that they want to push the limits of traditional cinematography. It can be fantasy cinema like Guillermo del Toro makes, or something more experimental like Gonzales Inarritu's work. But they're doing what they want to do, and unfortunately, that couldn't be done in Mexico.
Some films shot in Mexico have done very well despite low budgets, like Post Tenebras Lux, for which Carlos Reigadas won the Cannes 2012 prize for Best Director, or Amat Escalante, who won the same prize for the film Heli the following year. At home and abroad, Mexican cinema is enjoying its moment in the limelight.
And we end with some pretty impressive pictures coming to us from New York City, which is in the grips of its harshest winter on record. Manhattan was covered in ice. Icebreakers were used on the Hudson River, and Central Park was a snow-covered wasteland. And it's not just New Yorkers who are feeling the big chill. Record low temperatures have been registered at more than 70 locations across the United States. Well, do try and stay warm wherever you are. Spring must surely be just around the corner. That's it from this edition of Inside the Americas. Until next time, goodbye.